Your fall planting is coming to an end. What do we need to do to get ready for the spring and summer plant? Find out today on Grow the Earth. All right, guys. Well, we were about to pull out these peppers here, and we figured this would be a good opportunity to show you guys the process that we go through to redo our beds from our fall to our spring and summer planting. What you're going to see here is we're going to pull out these peppers first that are pretty dilapidated. They went through a bad frost, and we could probably let them go until next, into the spring and the summer, and they would probably come back. But we feel just by looking at them that they would do better if we were just to go ahead and pull these plants out and then just start over new for our spring and summer planting. So, come along with me as we go through our process of pulling out our plants, and I'll show you what I use to prep my beds for spring and summer planting. I'm going to stop here for a moment, guys, and I want to show you something. This is a good way to look at your plants as you're pulling them out to kind of give you an overall idea of what your plant health is looking like. If our beds were nutrient deficient, we may have been invaded by nematodes, which are going to be shown right here on the plant, the root of your plant here. You'll see bulges and so forth on the roots. But like I just wanted to point out that you can get a good idea of how good your soil is and how good your beds are by looking at the roots of your plant. Really nice thick roots, a lot of feeders, a lot of small feeder roots here. So these pepper plants were very happy. So like I said, I just thought that would be a good thing to point out. It's something I always look at whenever I'm pulling a plant out, because it'll give you a good idea of what your soil health is like without having to do a soil test or so forth like that. Alright guys, now that we've pulled all of our plants and we went ahead and made sure that we got any weeds that were growing in between the plants and so forth, now we've got a bed that's empty and ready for us to rejuvenate it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hard tine rake here, and I'm going to rake this whole bed level. There's a reason I'm doing that, is because I have a compost pile, and once I rake it and I put down my fertilizer, I want to be able to put a nice even layer on top. Now it's going to do two things. My compost is probably not completely finished, so I'm going to put it on top, because when you put compost below the soil surface, it starts to decompose. And as it decomposes, it draws nitrogen away from your soil. That's how it decomposes. So we're going to put it on top to where it's going to act as almost like a mulch layer. And then as it breaks down and as we water and as it rains, the nutrients out of that soil will actually leach down into the soil that's underneath it. And it will also start breaking down the fertilizer we're going to put down, which will carry those nutrients further down into our soil to where our plants can pick them up. All right, what we have here is a good organic fertilizer, Microlife Ultimate. If you watch my videos, you know that I'm a firm believer in this stuff. So every season, I put down a nice dusting, I guess is the best way to put it, because, you know, this stuff's not cheap. You know, a 50-pound bag, which a 50-pound bag does my garden, is like 60 bucks, you know, whereas you go commercial, it's probably half that. So, you know, not only that, this is a slow release fertilizer, so I only have to do it once a year because it's going to continually release those nutrients over time and is going to give me a good fertilization pretty much, you know, until fall comes back. We start planting for fall. So again, I'm going to throw you all into a quick watch here, because I know you don't want to see me spreading fertilizer for the next 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and spread this fertilizer, and then after this we're going to go over to my compost pile, and I'm going to show you the compost that I'm going to drag out of there on here. Now, as you noticed, I only used, you know, maybe 6 to 8 cups of fertilizer on this bed here. That's because we're not solely dependent on the fertilizer to grow our plants. We're going to put compost down, which has a bunch of available nutrients and so forth in it, and that's going to also contribute to our minerals and the fertilization that's in this bed. So we don't have to go real heavy on the fertilizer, because we have something else that's going to add nutrients and so forth to the bed. We're going to stop here, and I'm going to take you over to the compost pile, and we're going to get some compost out of there so we can come back and top this bed off. All right, guys, here we are at the compost pile. Now, as I've mentioned before, I'm a lazy composter. And what that means is, whenever I come out here to my compost bed, I just throw in it continually over the year. And whenever I'm ready to get compost, you know, out of it that I'm going to use in my beds, I just move everything out of the way that's not, composted to any certain point, and I just move it to one side. And when I dig out the area that I need, I'll go back and I'll move everything else back over and basically start the composting over again on the other side. So it's not for everybody. Certain people, they want a hot compost to where they can go out there and they can make compost in 30 days. It's not me. I work full time. I have a lot of stuff going on. So compost is just not something that's important enough to me to come out here every day and turn it and make sure that I've got 2 separate bins to have composting while I'm, using out of the other one and all that other stuff. It seems like a lot of extra work for me that I just don't have time for. So, like I said, I'm a lazy composter. It may not be for everybody, but it what's worked for me. Because guys, remember, anything that came from the earth will go back to the earth. And some things take longer than others, but it's all going to turn back into dirt because that's where it came from. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill my wheelbarrow up, and then once I do that, I'm going to give you a nice shot of what I'm pulling out of here and what compost can look like and what you can expect. And then we're going to go back over to the bed and we're going to apply it. Alright guys, now you see, this is a compost I just pulled out of my bed, and you'll notice, I'm sure some of you guys are saying, hey, that doesn't look like it's entirely composted. And I would say, you're absolutely right. There is some of it that's probably not composted. And this is exactly why I'm going to put this on top of my soil. I'm only going to be using it to top off my beds. I'm not mixing this into the ground because I don't want it to start robbing nitrogen from my soil whenever I am tilling it under. So I'm going to bring this over to the bed and we're going to apply this on top. So I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do here, and I'm just going to we're just going to finish up here off camera. We're going to take the compost we got from our bed over there and we're just going to spread it out in a nice even layer on top, and then we're going to let that sit, and we're going to let the compost finish on the top of our bed. That way when spring comes around, when we dig our holes and plant, we'll have a nice top layer of mulch, and the nutrients in that compost will have already started breaking down and leaching down in the soil to where we'll have good bed material. This is all a product of God. It's a product of God working in our lives. So, I want to say that I see my analytics and I see how many people that actually watch all the way to the end of my videos is watching right now. You guys are the real star of our channel. You guys are the ones who are keeping me motivated to keep doing these kind of things. I love to do this, I love to teach, but, when I see that most people click off of this video in the first 30 to 45 seconds of the video, then, it gets a little disheartening to look at. But you guys that are still watching, I want you to like and subscribe. Share my channel with other people. Especially if you like what you're seeing here. I try and give as much information as I can on what I know. I don't know everything. I'm still learning just like you guys are. But I just want to encourage you guys to keep planting and keep growing. Include God in your garden. You'll be amazed what will happen. All right, guys, so pray over your family, pray over your garden, and have a great day.